I'd like to call the East China Township Board meeting for August 21st, 2023 to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Supervisor Westrick?
Here.
Clerk Smith here. Treasurer Hart?
Here.
Trustee Babel? Here. Trustee Blackstock?
Here.
Trustee Knott?
Yeah.
Trustee Richley?
Here.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Agenda here, I do have one addition I'd like to make. We can call it new business 8 if you'd like. I just have a name that I'd like to add for the park commission member to replace the one that resigned. So we'll make that new business 8. I'll share that with you.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Mr. Ritchie?
Support.
Support by Ms. Hart. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes, same thing. Everybody get a chance to take a look at them? Not?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Mr. Richley? Support Babel. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Presentations, UHY, annual fiscal audit.
Good evening. My name is Jamie Herms, and I'm representing UHY. Scott unfortunately was unable to come tonight, who was kind of feeling under the weather. So I'm just gonna kind of go through your audit, and of course, if there's any questions, I'll try to do my best to answer anything that I can. I am out here, and I do work with Cindy, and I just want to say, working with Cindy and your group here, great. I do appreciate your patience as we, work through, going through the audit and everything. And then if there's anything that I can't answer you, I can definitely take that to Scott, or, I can definitely get back with you on that. So, and if there's anything as I'm going through this, if you have any questions, you want me to stop, just hold on, kind of go through it. But I'm going to kind of go through like a kind of a high level. I know you guys have a copy here, and guys.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's on my desk.
Okay. All right. So if you kind of flip past, got the table of contents. It just kind of goes through just your table of contents. But if you go back to page 1, independent auditor's report. Now this is this is really the only letter that UHY owns in this audit report. The rest of it is the East China Township's audit, and is prepared with the management team here. And of course, this opinion is a little bit different than maybe what you're used to seeing. We did have to audit the township under governmental auditing standards this year due to the bonds and due to some requirements that was with that. So with that, it looks a little bit different. Just really some of the wording and the language. Basically, we had to do a little bit more with some of our checklists and everything. So it's a little bit more than just under general auditing standards. But if you kind of go here with our opinion, you guys did receive a unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion, the highest opinion that you can reach. And this just pretty much here, it's pretty much kind of a standard letter here. So yes, so you had a clean opinion. On page 4, go to page 4, this is the management discussion analysis. This is really just kind of a high overview. I'm going to kind of skip over this. This is kind of really just kind of an overview of the actual financial statements themselves. This is prepared by management and really kind of their outlook, and then the budget variances or budgetary highlights, economic factors, all that good stuff, anything that you guys want to have and you want the readers of the financials to know this is where it would go, and anything in addition. So if you go to page 9, statement of net position. This is basically the government-wide full accrual. This is really kind of the business way, I guess you'd say, the commercial way of looking at your financials. Really, this includes all of your assets and your any debt that you have, any long-term liabilities and stuff that normally would not be in the fund basis. So I'm just going to kind of go through here a little bit. Your governmental activities, go down here, your total assets of $10,282,083. Deferred outflows of resources, really just with the pension and OPEB of $297,694. Your total liabilities, $2,465,082. Deferred inflows of resources, $3,017,124. That is primarily with your taxes levied for the subsequent period. And then come down to your net position, your total net position, net investment in capital assets of $2,362,015. Public safety restricted, funds are restricted specifically for public safety, $203,647. Cemetery perpetual care, non-spendable, $49,955, and unrestricted of $2,481,954. So then you go to the next column, we have the business type. This is your water and sewer activities. Total assets of $14,712,313. Primarily made up, mostly if you look at that, is the bulk of that is your water and sewer infrastructure, as well as some of those new projects. Assets not being depreciated, that number is increased a little bit, primarily due to the water and the DWSRF and the CWSRF projects that are ongoing, and of course, obviously, that number's a little bit more right now, but this is as of 12/31. So you had assets of $695,924, and I believe at that time it was mostly more of your engineering and costs. And if you come down to total deferred outflows of resources, $169,227. And then our total liabilities of $3,340,720. And that number primarily is comprised of due to component unit of the Water Sewer Authority, which is pretty much for those operations. So there's, and that's kind of really been kind of that number for a while. It's not a whole lot has changed. It's just really that's what the water sewer funds and combined owes the authority for operations as of 12/31. Deferred inflows of resources, $58,877. Net investment in capital assets of $11,573,606. And unrestricted, actually, I should say a net deficit of $91,663. Now, that has improved since the last year. That deficit number has decreased by about 500,000, right around there approximately. So that is going in the right direction, which is where, and then you guys did not have to do a deficit reduction plan for any of those funds as well.
What's
because
driving
you
the
have-
deficit number?
Huh?
What's driving the deficit number?
Some of it is really, and we can kind of get into a little more details where you can see the water and sewers broken out. But a lot of it really has to do with, really some of it's just your depreciation. There's some depreciation that's charged. And really, as you have adjusted your water sewer rates and as you keep looking at those to make sure that you're covering your current costs as well as those depreciation costs and any upcoming future costs, really it's just kind of looking at it, with your long term. But that's just really, you're not charging the users ultimately. But we can kind of get into that a little bit more detail because in the back, when you kind of look at it, if you take out that depreciation number, you're operating, which depreciation, it is a real number, but it's not, it's not, you've already spent the funds. It's already, you're just expensing it over.
Isn't depreciation mainly for an organization that has to pay taxes because you have to use that to
Well-
how much your taxes? We don't pay taxes. Why are we fooling with depreciation?
We have to in order to be in line with generally accepted accounting principles, so it'd be in line with GAAP. Otherwise, if we did not depreciate our assets or did not report them, then you guys wouldn't have, we wouldn't be able to put a clean opinion on your financial statements. So it's really just accounting guidelines. People above me, way above me, have come up with those rules and stuff, and we just abide by them. But really, it's just to kind of show you, it's really more or less is you've already spent the funds, and you're being able to use those assets over a certain period, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, the infrastructure is a little bit longer, and it's just a little bit longer. So, and then if you kind of look over here, kind of go a little bit, the component unit, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about the Water Sewer Authority unless if there's anything, but I know it's got a whole separate audit, so I'm just going to kind of skip over that. It is rolled into the East China Township audit. So if you switch over to page 10 and 11, this is our statement of activities. This is really kind of the overview of the commercial, your revenue and expenditures. So if you kind of look over here, we've got, on page 10, primary government, we had total expenses of $2,417,963. Charges for services, program revenues of $204,831. Operating grants and contributions of $800, and capital grants and contributions of $99,065. And then if you kind of come down here on page 11, it's kind of broken out to where's kind of what's program specific and more of unrestricted. Your general revenues, property taxes of $2,546,711. Grants and contributions not restricted, $494,542. Unrestricted investment income, $29,984, and then transfers to other funds of $316,839. And then really kind of go into the same thing, business type activities, water fund, it just really kind of breaks it out, water fund, sewer fund, total expenses of $2,599,309, charges for services $2,196,808, and then of course transfers in of $316,839. And then kind of just get down here. So then your net position at the end of the year for the business type is $11,481,943. So you had a decrease of your change in net position of $78,243. And I kind of skipped over, hate to kind of flip-flop, but then the governmental activities, you had a change in net position. You actually increased by $641,131. So your ending net position at the end of the year was $5,097,571. Then if you flip to page 12 and 13, this is kind of a breakdown. This is the fund basis. This is what you guys budget on. This is what you guys really work with. So we've got the general fund, and total assets of $3,983,217. Total liabilities of $512,000. Unearned grant revenue is really the largest number of the liabilities. That's really your ARPA funds that you have. For the most part, I think there's some couple other things if I remember correctly, but primarily ARPA funds. Deferred inflows of resources, $1,708,691. That's mostly taxes levied for subsequent periods, just really a timing. And then come down to your total balance of $1,762,526. Parks fund, total assets of $82,050. Liabilities of $63,072. Down to a total fund balance of $18,978. Accounts payable is up a little bit there, and that's just due to, I think, some projects that were at year end. Township Capital Projects Fund, your total assets, $2,524,522 as of 12/31. Accounts payable or total liabilities of $40,495. Total deferred inflows of resources, taxes that were allocated to the Township Capital Projects Funds of $782,054, and comes down to a total fund balance of $1,701,973. Other governmental funds, I don't know if you look at this number is a little bit larger than what has been in the past. There's actually a new fund in there this year, the EMS, that EMS county millage. So that's pretty much basically, you'll actually see it right now, it's on there, you'll see the taxes levied. That's really for the next, but then you will have a, that will hit your revenue and expense. So really it comes in, you guys collect it, you guys submit it to the county then sends it back.
Circle
And really it's just a way kind of, so accounting and then you guys can use that for EMS services.
Treasurer talk.
So that number is a little bit more because of that. So you're in the other governmental funds, $1,186,336 for your total assets, total deferred, total liabilities of $4,689, total deferred inflows of resources of $383,452, and then total fund balance of your other governmental funds of $798,195. Any questions with any of those, or any specific numbers or anything? On page 14, this is just a reconciliation to get, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but this is just really how you get from the page that I was just on up to the front, your statement of net assets. So that just gets you from the fund basis up to the net position of the governmental activities. Just pretty much the differences of your capital assets, deferred inflows, debt, and all that. So then on page 15, our statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. Total revenues in the general fund, $2,297,348. Total expenditures of $1,562,202. Total other financing uses, $590,755. Comes down to net change in fund balance of $144,391. So fund balance at the end of the year for the general fund was $1,762,500, or $1,762,526. Parks fund, total revenues of $84,428. Total expenditures of $440,820, and that's primarily due to some projects that they had going on. I believe the seawall project specifically. Total other financing uses, $265,775. I'm sorry, uses. Those are actually transfers in from other funds. Net change in fund balance. Basically, they used $90,617 more of their funds from prior year fund balance, which gives us a fund balance at the end of the year of $18,978. Township capital projects, total revenues of $622,037, total expenditures of $84,000. Come down here, total other financing uses of $166,407. Net change in total fund balance of $371,629, which brings you up to fund balance at the end of the year of $1,701,973 for future projects. Other governmental funds. Total revenues of $404,034. Total expenditures of $187,572. You come down to transfers to other funds of $58,396. Total net change in fund balance of $158,066. So a total fund balance at the end of year of your other non-major governmental funds of $798,195. So, all right. If you go to flip to page 17, this is really just kind of the changes, change in fund balance from the fund basis that was on the page just prior to this, and then to the government-wide. So really kind of the same thing, it's just the revenue and expenditures part. So then if you flip to page 18 and 19, did anybody have any questions with any of that? Statement of net position for the proprietary funds, business type. So this is our water sewer fund and then our internal service fund. And I'm not going to go into too much. I'm not going to go every number with this. I just kind of want to point out a couple of key things because we kind of did this in the government-wide. There's not really any differences with the business proprietary type because we're already on a full accrual. But I did kind of want to point out a couple of things that are a little bit different. We do have some additional bonds payables and loan payables, and that's due to your projects, and that's what it was as of 12/31. So obviously, I'm sure those numbers are a little bit different now based on, so those numbers will be a little bit larger at the end of next year. But as of right now, as of 12/31, for the water, there's installment loan payable of $394,235, and then your sewer, $245,388. Now, if they are a little bit different. It's also with the similar but different, but with the Water Sewer Authority and the way that you want to say why is one bonds and one is loan. It's just really the way that that it was flowed through with worked with the Sewer Water
I have a
Authority.
question, maybe Vern, or no. Are we now, even though we haven't completed both the drinking water or the clean water projects, we are paying this year payments on those loans?
You
treasurer can answer that too, because we did receive invoices on our first.
So we are paying
Yes.
on those bonds already, although even though we're still drawing for the completion of the project.
Paying the interest only. this
Yeah,
year.
the first payment is
Okay, I was just
coming up
wondering why
soon.
they're showing
And
Yeah.
there's, in the
payments.
budget amendment, you'll see that, Ralph, it's 2013 A and B is getting transferred over to cover the interest.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. But interest only this year.
And I think, I don't know, does anybody have anything specific with your water sewer, with the assets? I mean, really, it's just kind of, I think that's the big thing that happened really last year and still going on this year, is those water sewer projects that you have. Other than that, really, it's kind of your typical, nothing really with that. I'd like to focus a little bit more on with the proprietary funds on your water sewer on the next page, on page 20, which is really kind of comes down to some of the questions as far as, you know, that, the deficit that kind of really goes into the front page, and kind of, this is kind of really the activity for the year. So as you can see, I mean, on this page, here on page 20, for your water, we had total operating revenues of $1,106,000, and then total operating expenses of $1,265,817. So we had an operating loss of $159,275 in the water fund. However, if you kind of back out that depreciation of $286,827, if you take out that number, you guys are really not operating as a loss if you take that into consideration. Same thing really with the sewer fund. It's really kind of the same thing. We had net loss before transfers in of $240,000, but if you kind of really back out that depreciation of $315,884, and then we actually really don't have a net. It would really operating loss with less the depreciation. So that really is just something to kind of consider when you are really looking at those numbers. So total change in net position in the water fund was a decrease of $71,942, and then the sewer of $6,301. Transfers in, we had a couple transfers in for some of the projects to help cover the costs as well. And then, and I did kind of want to I haven't really talked too much about your ISF fund. That is something that I do think maybe kind of might want to take a look at as far as the charges and stuff, because as of right now, the total operating revenues was $113,893. Total operating expenses was $464,208. So that's just something to maybe consider as far as really, you know, really covering the charges and the costs that are in that fund. So and net loss before transfers in for the ISF fund was $349,644, and transfers in of $232,944. Change in net position was $116,700. So we had a net position at the end of the year of a negative $129,660. So, any questions with any of that? Yes.
So just out of curiosity, to Ralph's question, so in theory, if we continued to operate in a deficit with the depreciation, what does that?
Really, you kind of really have to look at it in the long term and kind of see what your outlook is and what your capital replacements, and I mean, there's really a whole lot. It's not, I hate to say, it's not really a easy cut and dry answer. I know with like a lot of the water sewer funds, I mean, really just kind of looking at an outlook, looking at a forecast, and really looking at your rates and analyzing your rates and making sure your water and your sewer rates are covering your costs. That's really kind of, you know, really your biggest thing is just making sure down the line that you're covering some of those future costs and capital improvements, because we're always going to have some improvements, and you have repairs and maintenances, and some years are, you know, better than others, so.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And then on page 21 is the statement of cash flows, and that just kind of really goes into really just where your cash is going. So for cash at the end of the year, you guys were in the water fund, you had decreased $281,567, and the sewer fund had increased by $285,580. So it's just really kind of where the cash is as of that time. All right, on page 22, This is a statement of fiduciary net position, your custodial fund, your tax fund, and then also your other post-employment trust fund. So really your tax fund, you guys had as of 12/31, $366,837. That was to other governmental units. And really with you guys being a 12/31, it's just really the timing. That number can fluctuate based on how much has been collected in December or not. And then your total collections during the year was $15,974,485. That was collected and then paid to other governmental units. Other post-employment trust fund, your OPEB. This one, you had investments of $764,434. This is really just down as of 12/31, primarily just because of the market value. As we know, it's been kind of up and down, and yeah,
investment
who
firm
knows? It's a
sucks.
gamble.
Yeah.
So, but at that time, but your post-employment trust fund, all in all, you guys are pretty funded. So. If you turn to page 23, I'm not going to go into really too much detail. This just kind of goes over your summary of significant accounting policies and just kind of talks into a little bit more detail about your about East China Township and then your funds. So I'm just going to kind of skip over unless if anybody, and it's pretty much, I don't think nothing really has too much changed a whole lot since prior year. We did have a couple of budgetary information on page 31 in note 2. We do have to report if there's certain variances that are larger than the 10% of total expenditures and of itself. So there was just a couple, and really one of them the Parks Fund and then in the Building Inspection Fund. I think with the Parks Fund was just really kind of a budgeting, I think just a timing issue. I know those projects were budgeted. It was just, yeah, really of when the project happened. So, so those are just a couple that we had to report. If you go to note 3, just talk about our cash, where your cash is as of 12/31. And investments, let's see here. Really the only investments you guys really had was the OPEB. If anybody has any questions with specific, let me know. Property taxes, this is where you guys have allocated the millages that are collected, 2022 compared to 2021. That's just really what funds that you guys are allocating those out to. Receivables, let's see here, what your receivables, primarily taxes receivables at year end. And then note 6 just goes into kind of really your interfund receivable payables and transfers. Where your funds are going in between, transfers to and from other funds, and what was due to other funds. So, and really primarily, I think most of them are really typically that you guys have is projects. So, note 7 goes into capital assets. You did have a few capital assets this year and some construction in progress. In your governmental funds, you had total assets, new additions of $40,147. And then in your business type, you had $567,044 in construction and process, and then some other new equipment and utility systems of $99,954. So that's really, other than that, I guess trying to make this short for you guys. I know this can be fun, right? I mean, and if you guys want me to kind of skip over, I can. So.
Anybody got any questions?
I know this can be real exciting stuff, so. Note 7 just kind of goes on a little bit where your depreciation, what funds it was, what function programs it was allocated to. Let me see here. Note 9, I'll skip over that. I'm not going to go into too much detail. You'll just kind of really, if you look at that, you'll just see those new borrowings that we were talking about, the CWSR, the clean water, and then the drinking water. I don't know how many times I had to write it down. I'm like, this one is this, and with both of them, what funds
Don't want
what.
to drink clean water.
So if I
Yes.
say those interchangeably, I do apologize.
That's how I remember.
So that's really, really the new activity with your long-term debt. A couple of those, and then of course it just kind of goes into in a little bit more detail about what they're for, what those bonds are for, the installment loan payable, and really how that kind of works with the sewer water authority. And then pretty much, and then we have here your your annual requirements to pay the outstanding debt. Now, these are for your current ones. We did not put for the ones that are still in process. It has not been finalized. So once those are finalized, then those will be added to the note. Now, it is disclosed in there, as far as a little bit detail, as far as what the interest rates and what the payments are, but until you actually start paying, then.
Isn't that right? The DW stuff is good.
Yeah, and I think really the rest just kind of goes in, pension, OPEB.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just gonna kind of skip over a lot of these notes. I'm gonna key in on a couple of the parts in the back with the OPEB and pension. Really kind of the numbers that you guys are probably really more concerned about. Before I get to that, let me see here. Really, then note 15, just have your principal taxpayer, utility customer. Just really what, with regarding DTE, what percentage of taxes they are, water and sewer user they are. And then we just kind of go in, and then just gives a little bit more detail about your restricted net position. And then note 18, this is new this year. This one, Cindy really helped us out here and was able to provide, as of 12/31, basically all your contract commitments as of 12/31. So this is something, all these really contracts that the township has agreed, and so probably many of those have been,
53.
probably are already in process, and,
I will back you up a minute.
yes.
OPEB, are we meeting?
The OPEB?
Our OPEB liability. where
Yes,
we
OPEB
have to have
liability.
a certain percentage to make the state
Yeah,
happy.
the percentage?
Yeah, do we meet the requirement? to
You
keep the
do.
state
I was
happy?
actually gonna jump to the back part of that. There's some schedules in there and show you where those percentages
Okay,
actually
thank
are.
you.
Nope, that's okay. Anybody have any questions about any of those other notes in there? And then really, if you kind of go back to, you got our RSI required supplemental. This is really just kind of goes into the general fund. It just gives a little bit more detail about all the numbers in the front, and variances with budgets. And then with your parks funds, all your major funds. And then if you go to page 56, these are those numbers that really, that you're kind of keying in. So with your, let's see here. So for the pension, you're at 54.93% funded. And like I said, a lot of that has to do with the market fluctuation as of 12/31. The markets really did come down. So you can see you guys were 65% last year and 54% this year. But if you look up here, and that's why I kind of like these schedules here, they kind of really it kind of shows it a little bit more as far as you can see net investment income, 655,000. So that's kind of, and then we have the same similar schedules. If you flip to page 60, really the same thing for the OPEB. And the OPEB, you guys are, actually, you don't have an OPEB liability. You guys actually have what you call an OPEB asset. So you guys are actually over, really fully funded. You guys are actually at 127%. So, and I do believe you guys did transfer that, what you guys normally were putting in the OPEB into the
Yeah.
pension this year, so. But yeah, those just go into a little bit more detail. Then we have supplemental information. This is with your other special revenue funds, your building inspections, your ambulance, that's the new EMS fund, capital project funds, and debt service funds, and your cemetery, so. Any questions with any of the numbers?
Just a clarification, and I already warned you about this before.
No, that's okay.
But on page 55, the Parks Fund, and the reason I'm asking this is because there's been a lot of confusion between our board and our Park Commission, and so I wanted to hear it from you. There was no money transferred from that fund, like from their fund balance to the general fund balance, correct?
That is correct. So if you look, actually, you'll actually see a transfers in of $265,775, and that is actually funds that are coming in from other funds. So if there was anything that was coming out of that, you would see that there. And then there's also a note, I forget what page it was, but that also goes into a little bit more detail that will actually show where those funds were actually came from. And typically,
Page
usually
30.
they're from the general fund.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
But yes,
That's
you
all.
are correct.
Okay, that's all I got.
So you should have a couple of letters. Just kind of go through these. The first letter, the Independent Auditor's Report on Internal Controls over Financial Reporting and Compliance and Other Matters based on audit of financial statements performed in accordance with government auditing standards. Yes, this is a little bit of a new letter, a little bit different, and it's because of those standards. We had to audit under basically some additional guidance this year. So anyways, just kind of going through here, report on internal control over financial reporting. We did have really one item, and just kind of go to on the attachment, 2022-001, financial statement preparation. This is really the same item. You guys are really just looking for us for guidance, and it's just really to help prepare your financial statements in accordance with GAAP. So, and then if you go to the next letter, the audit communication letter. This is a letter that we issue to the board. As we're not required to come here and do a presentation. However, we like the opportunity to come here and, do a presentation and open for any questions that we may have. We only get to see you guys really once a year. So this is if we were unable to, this is pretty much kind of our letter to you, kind of little summary of the audit, any of significant audit findings, items. And really, if you just kind of go through here, really a lot of the kind of the same similar disclosures that we had from prior year, and really in credit risk as far as really funds. You guys do have, with your disclosure of custodial credit risk, that's in note 3. You do have $1,250,000 that's insured, but the remaining amount is not FDIC insured. But I say that's pretty typical. If you feel like you have a strong bank, then that's pretty normal.
You'll run by me again.
About the custodial credit risk? So if a bank was to fail, governments, you are allowed up to $250,000 of FDIC insurance per certain type. Now, governments, you can get up to $500,000 per bank if you have it spread out amongst different types of deposits.
Yeah, she spreads it out.
So yes, and I know, yep, see, she's shaking her head, she's like, yep, I know.
Okay.
So that's just really, you guys have it all.
That's what you were talking about, is the insurance part of it.
Yes, the insurance part.
Understood.
So,
Thank you.
but if you're with a strong bank, I mean, it's really a judgment call. So really, it's just if the bank was to go down, that's really all that's saying.
Yeah.
Then we just kind of go in here if there's any difficulties encountered in performing the audit.
Yeah.
Nope, we had no difficulties with management.
like 5 already.
Cindy, like I said, Cindy and her team have always been good to work with. They answer any of the questions that we may have. So we did not have any concerns there.
Stagecoach company.
If you flip to page 3, this just kind of goes into some of the adjustments and closing entries and items that we just assisted the township for, with just some reclassifications of transfers, some additional accounts payable, and really with some of the ARPA funds and insurance. So just kind of just gives a little bit of a breakdown of just a few of the items. And then if we just go, let's see here.
The fact that you do that, that's why we get that material weakness, isn't it?
Well, yes and no. Yes, with some of them. So that is obviously the more entries, and really it's the significance of the entries. The bigger the entries, the more of.
Because we've been getting a similar note for years.
We've
been getting a similar finding for
Yeah,
years.
and honestly, most I would say most municipalities do have that comment about drafting their financial statements. Really we have, I hate to say it, very few clients that really do not have that in their financial.
We
do
don't
have
have a
some.
CPA on staff.
Yeah,
A lot of
it's really
places-
you're
lot
kind of.
Small places don't do that.
Yeah, you're really looking at the cost benefit. Is it worth the cost or the benefit? What benefit are you getting? So.
Thank you.
Attachment A, this is just a couple of items that we just really kind of noted, and just kind of things that maybe just a couple recommendations. One is the township payroll process and timesheet allocations. Of course, that one is usually just an ongoing one. We're just kind of recommending, hey, just to kind of relook at your allocations and make sure, that they're up to date, and not saying that they're not, just just as something that to relook at. And then also the other one is just an annual budget resolution. It's really just to kind of really make sure that all of the special revenue funds should be included in the budget. So when the township is adopting that budget, the park fund should be included. So I think all the other funds were included, it was just the park one was left out last year, so. And then there's, the next page, there's a couple of new items here. Now, these are new, you guys, these are what we call a summary of unadjusted audit differences. This is really due to a new standard, a lease, GASB 87, lease implementation. Really what they want you to do is they want you to bring and put basically the right of the use of the asset and then the liability. So we kind of reevaluated that with management and to see if it was something that was going to materially affect your financial statements. No, they did not. A lot of our clients, a lot of places are just putting it on the pass sheet if it's within those limits. So really, that's really the only reason why you have that there, is really the unrecorded lease assets and obligation. And I think that's it. Does anybody have any questions, any concerns, anything? All right. Well, and then of course, if anybody does, Cindy knows where to find me. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time. I hope you guys all have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you.
Good night.
We're gonna have a quiz on this at the end of the meeting.
Study up.
Okay, thank you. Public comment. Anyone wishing to speak, come to the podium, name and address, please.
Hang on one second. Good evening, my name is Brian Kowalski, I live at 1525 Meisner. I'm here tonight to set the record straight or get an answer to a question that I have diligently been trying to find out. And that is, approximately 4.5 months ago, the water separation project on Meisner, or whatever it's called, was started and completed in June. Well, let's just say there's no more additional work being done. And I'm switched over to a new line. So I've been through all the shutdowns and that sort of thing, that, whatever, that's another issue. I've made a couple calls asking when my property is going to be restored. The response I got in June was, well, it'll be in the fall when we can plant the grass and it can grow. Number one, I called that one out. The river road's been planted and seeded, so is Kearney Drive, so is other sections of road in the township. So I don't understand why it's not. I don't, and I'm a new resident. I bought the house last year. I paid dearly for it to move to the township. I have left messages for you, Fern.
I got your message Friday, and I
Okay.
turned it over to him today.
Okay. Well, I have not gotten a call.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry for blowing your phone up, but I'm in the communications business. I work for a large communications company. Somebody needs to let us know what's going on. Here's the problem. I just spent $8,000 on a mower. Nobody better come out and cite me for blight for grass. I am not going to run my mower over that. My neighbor did and tore his mower up. The drains, the ditches are blocked with sand from where they put sand in there to fill. So now I have islands and the water can't pass it till it gets up over that. I am literally at the point, and I do not mean to, I'm a lover, not a fighter. I'm the most flexible fat guy you'll ever meet in your life. But I'm at the point where I've contacted the landscape company. They have no problem coming out, leveling it, seeding it, and then direct billing the township. All I gotta do is call back. I'm not saying I want to do that, because I don't, right? Number one, I don't have the authority to do that on behalf of the township, but at the same token, I'm asked to pay my taxes. I just got a water bill. This is what brought me here tonight. I just got the water bill yesterday. I'm being charged, and it's minuscule. $10, I think it is, for a new water meter. How? The water meter is in my house. Nobody's been in there to switch it out. Somebody explain that one? Can somebody tell me when they're gonna come and do the lawn? Neighbor on one side of me would not come tonight because he has no off switch with his voice. He was worried about being dragged down. Neighbor on the other side of me, president of the operators local union, who had a non-unionized people working in his yard on heavy equipment. He personally went out of town that weekend just so that he didn't see that. I'm just upset. You can hear it in my voice. I just want to know when somebody's going to bring, I don't care, bring the topsoil. I'll seed it. Hell, I'll even water it with the water that I'm paying for. I just want it seeded. I take pride in my yard. If you drove by and looked at it today versus 12 months ago, I put $3,000 in landscaping in my yard. Of course, they knocked out 3 trees. I'm not worried about that. But I got holes in my grass from the little stabilizer things that are like this big, this deep. I'm not saying somebody's gonna get hurt, but what if my kids come over or my grandkids come over and they twist an ankle in that? Who's liable? Me or Piper's Act or the township? Can somebody tell me when they're gonna finish this up?
Yeah, but I got your message late Friday, and I did drive by there Friday night,
Okay,
and they started Meisner Road last week, topsoiling,
right.
and PCE, their chief, I guess inspector or whatever, was supposed to get in touch with you the first of this week to go over that. They say it should be this week, but we'll check on it tomorrow.
I would appreciate it, because I talked to the company that's doing it, the landscape guys that are right here by the subdivision.
Yeah,
They said that's as far as they're going. That's as far as they were contracted to go.
yeah, they misspoke on that one. 'Cause
Okay.
I'm like, why'd you start in the middle of Meisner? You can start at one end or the other.
Right? I mean, look, I don't care if
Well,
they
the
start my end or
conversation
this
about
end.
they have to fill the water main with grout in spots,
that
so
what
they
it is?
had to wait to do the grout tube. I said, that's not an excuse if you're not gonna grout it right away, restore the man's yard, so.
Right. Well, I do
You should be getting a call tomorrow or next day. They should be done with it this week.
You
But,
guys are awesome. I appreciate it.
you know,
Thank
I did look at it Friday night. I
Yeah.
went by when I
Okay.
got your message.
Okay, cool. And I appreciate that. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yes, they have started at the river
Yeah, I seen that.
road and they.
Yeah, I seen that because I stopped Friday. I stopped Friday and talked to the people that were
No,
working
I gave
on
it
the
to
stuff.
him today, and he said he'd try and get with you today or tomorrow, whatever,
Excellent.
but they should be done with that this week, weather permitting, so.
Cool.
Let's hope we don't get much more rain.
I know, right? When they said they weren't going to plant it because the
It's been a
grass
rough-
wouldn't
it's
grow,
been a
I'm
rough
like,
summer for
we've had
everybody with the
8
rain.
3/4 inches of rain this year in July, so. But I appreciate it. Thank you very much for your
You
time.
should be hearing something in the next 48 hours from somebody. They should be out there this week, they said.
The only other suggestion I would have is next time you have an audit done like that, have that review done in a closed session, because man, was I bored. Have a great day. I had no idea what she was talking about. Take care, thank you.
If you
I
don't,
can-
give me a call at the end of the week, okay?
As for your water bill, the line that says water meter, it's not for your specific meter. It's a fund that we collect money for, so when it does need replacement, it's free
It's
of
for your
charge
meter
for you.
eventually.
Yeah.
It's based
Okay,
on the
so-
life of the life of the
Yeah.
meter.
Okay, well, I don't want to
It
go
costs
down that
quite a
road,
bit
because
when we fix them.
in
Yeah.
10 years, that means I'm paying $600 for a meter that I know only costs about $300, but we'll leave it at that. So-
They cost a little more than that.
They-
but-
Well, I know
They
you
went
got-
up a ton.
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, I appreciate it, thank y'all.
Everything did, but, you should have it something this week, though.
Okay, cool. And they'll take care of the silt and all that that's built up?
They have to clean that ditch back out, yeah.
Great, thanks, I'll let Eric know. Take care, guys.
All right.
Good night.
Yep, good night.
Okay, is that it? Moving on, consent agenda. C1, the financial reports and training requests for our water plant supervisor. There's no questions, I entertain motion for approving the consent agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Richley, for support. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Disbursements, Ms. Hart?
Okay. First want to say the total should be 1,083,585.63, not 53 there. So we have payroll, $36,816.30. Accounts payable, $957.15. EFTs, $12,887.52. E-checks, 30230. Tax disbursements, $241,667.21. And invoices, $184,955.15. And again, the total was $1,083,585.63. I'll make a motion to pay the bills in the total of that.
I'll support.
Been moved and supported. Clerk, please call the roll.
Roll call vote, Treasurer Hart?
Yes.
Trustee Babel? Yes. Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Ness?
Yes.
Trustee Richley?
Yes.
Clerk Smith, yes. Supervisor Wester?
Yes. Thank you. Old business. Resolution number 09-2023, Charter Township of East China. It's a resolution declaring intent to make water system improvements and declaring intent to designate a special assessment district. At a regular meeting, Charter Township, China Board of Trustees, East China Township Hall, 21st day of August 2023, following is offered by whereas the following properties, collectively the properties are located in East China Township, 4049, 4045, 4037, 4033, 4029, and 4021 River Road. Whereas what properties are served by Township's water system by a single service line in a manner not consistent with East China Township Code of Ordinances, and whereas in order to become compliant with the ordinances and improve the safety and reliability of water service to the properties, certain improvements are required, including installation of a water main, servicing the properties, and related improvements, collectively improvements. Whereas Michigan Public Act 188 of 1954 allows for the township to make certain public improvements, including improvements to water systems, and to finance the same by special assessment against the properties benefited. Whereas the improvements are public improvements which may be completed and financed pursuant to the Act, whereas pursuant to Section 3 of the Act, record owners of more than 50% of the properties by land area have signed petitions requesting the township to proceed with the improvements and to finance the same pursuant to special assessment against the properties. Whereas the township has received plans from Project Control Engineering to complete the improvements at an estimated cost of $152,026. Whereas on July 17, 2023, the Board of Trustees adopted a resolution tentatively declaring intent to make water system improvements and tentatively declaring intent to designate a special assessment district. Whereas pursuant to the initial resolution, as required by the Act, the Board of Trustees scheduled and conducted a public hearing on August 7, 2023 to consider objections. 1, to the petitions, and 2, to the improvements, 3, to a proposed special assessment district consisting of the properties. Whereas after having reviewed the improvements, petitions, plans, the district, and considered the comments at the public hearing, Board of Trustees has determined the following. Now therefore it be resolved that the East China Township Board of Trustees as follows: record owners of more than 50% of the properties by land area within the district submitted signed petitions to the township clerk requesting the township complete the improvements and create the district to assess the cost of the improvements. Petitions are sufficient to proceed under the Act pursuant to MCL 41.7251C. The sufficiency of the petitions is not subject to attack except in an action brought by the court of competent jurisdiction within 30 days after the adoption of this resolution. Plans including cost estimate are approved. The township to complete the improvements was substantially the same form as contemplated in the plans, subject to a revision to the scope of work and estimate for final engineering. 2, potential reduction in the scope to reduce costs, and 3, approval of bids deemed acceptable by the Township Board of Trustees. A special assessment district consisting of the properties created for a period of X years, sufficient to repay all costs associated with the improvements, together with interest as approved on a special assessment roll. Each of the properties within the district shall be assessed equally for the final cost of the improvements. The township supervisor, in cooperation with Project Control Engineering, shall initiate the process to obtain sealed bids to complete the improvements. Cost estimates for the improvements will be redefined after receipt and review of sealed bids. As required by MCL 41.27551D, once sealed bids are received and the cost estimate for the improvements redefined, township supervisor shall create a special assessment roll consisting of the properties which will be equally assessed for the cost of the improvements over a period of years, X years, less any contributions toward the cost of other sources, including the contribution of the township event. After the supervisor creates a special assessment roll, the Board of Trustees by resolution will schedule a public hearing regarding the special assessment roll as required by the statute. If special assessment roll is approved, Township Board of Trustees will consider bids to complete the improvements and award a contract to complete the improvements as it deems fits. Make a motion, we approve the resolution as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Questions?
I have a few.
I
This, at
see you
this
got a
stage,
few sticky notes over there.
at this stage, we don't determine the number of years, correct? That's the future stage?
That's correct.
And then, have all the homeowners been communicated with about, for the most part? I mean,
Yeah, they were here for that public hearing too.
so, when, like, what's the timeline of when we'll know the costs?
Well, after we figure out who's gonna do the engineering, when it's gonna get done, timeline for that, I think there's no reason we can't do the work in the winter. Water main work is easily accomplished in the winter, you know, and then be restored in the spring. So that's kind of the goal for now.
Okay, and then, at some point, there's gonna be a meeting to determine the number of years? Because, I mean, like, some people were saying they wanted it as
Yeah,
far out
once
as
we get the
possible.
bid in, I think it's gonna be kind of a consensus on that. I'm not sure how that process works. Ellen really didn't tell me that, you know, our attorney, but,
Yeah,
you know, then we'll kind of visit with them. We did discuss that we possibly would forego charging them interest as our contribution.
There is a township, I will continue to bring this up. There is a township contribution to this particular thing that we're doing. It is not all, what we're doing is not all benefit, just for the benefit of the residents. If it was just for the benefit of the residents, we wouldn't do it.
Right.
It's do it to improve the township, putting a fire hydrant in, a bigger line than is actually needed for 6 houses. This is all of this is to the benefit of the township. So there is that still to be considered when we start talking about how many years and what we're gonna pay.
Yeah, I think-
And I understand that covering the cost of the interest of such a loan is a good thing, but I think there's still some discussion to be had about what else. There's 6 properties here, we're actually the seventh partner in this.
Yeah, the interest over a 10-year special assessment would be close to $50,000 for a
Oh,
home.
yeah.
So the township, I think, at least I'm okay with that, you know, that's something to be decided when we
I
get down
just think
to it.
that's discussed.
We take it out of our capital improvement
Yeah.
fund and we pay ourselves back without
Yeah.
interest, you know, I think
Yeah.
that's a
That
good
discussion is
contribution.
yet to come, because it says, well, later to be improvements over less enter contributions to cost from other sources, including the contribution by township, if any. That is still yet to be decided, is what I'm saying. And I'm saying, in addition to the interest, I think we have another ball in this particular game. The township itself does for doing this. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing it at all.
Once we get the bids and we have a contractor
Then we
that's
can
viable
talk.
and we know the dollar amount,
Yeah,
then we
okay.
decide how we're gonna divvy it up,
Okay.
how much it's gonna be.
Very
so you
good.
answered my interest question. My last question is, what's the process after this? Like, it comes back to the board when you get the bids?
I think once we get a bid that we're happy with, if it's the low bid, I think we gotta come back and decide
Okay,
X amount of years,
Right.
who's paying what, how much it'll be.
okay.
There'll be another
Oh,
public
okay.
hearing to establish the special assessment district.
Yep.
That'll have
Up
all
here
the
after that.
information that the.
Yeah, there has to be
numbers
another
will be
hearing,
solid,
too.
yeah,
So more here.
Okay, okay,
For everyone.
okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
It's my first one too, so I'm not really sure.
I've done them before.
This is just another step in the process and then many more to follow. Any other comments or questions?
You gotta get some names on this about, I'm assuming you were the one that was offering this. Who supported it?
My copy has it.
Oh, you got all that stuff? Okay.
Yep.
I'll be filling it in.
Okay.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Roll call vote. Supervisor Wester? Clerk Smith, yes. Treasurer Hart?
Yes.
Trustee Babel? Yes. Trustee Blackstock? Trustee Knott?
Yes.
Trustee Richley?
Yes.
Okay, new business 1, St. Clair County
One more
Parks.
thing, don't jump too fast. Do we all have to sign something before we leave here tonight?
No.
It's not required that we initial any of this?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Just Did you see the typos I was circling, by the way? I'll go over
Yeah,
it.
I-
Yeah, okay. 2023 St. Clair County Parks and Rec millage request, anticipated allocation for 2023 county millage funds, East China Township Parks and Recreation is $19,916. Action requested is to approve the St. Clair County Parks and Recreation 2023 request for local millage distribution application as presented.
Do we know what projects they want to do with the money, or that wasn't indicated?
Last year,
anywhere?
they said splash pad,
It
I
is
thought.
on the request in the, towards 2/3 of the way down, it says, please provide a brief description. And in
Yeah.
the box is exactly what they,
That's what I was looking for, and I did not see.
begins updating office equipment such as computer monitors, right on this page here.
Yep, right where your red pen is. Yep,
Oh,
that
that
box.
little box?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, that little box. Okay, I'm looking everywhere.
Can't see that box.
It's there, and I can't.
It's the one with the small print.
Yes.
That's why I can't see it.
Okay,
The fine print's there, though.
thank
The
you.
small print is always the most important.
I don't think that's gonna cover all that, but. anyway.
No.
That's fine.
Motion to
Just let
be,
them do whatever they
in order
want
to
with it.
approve the
They'll figure it out.
millage distribution as presented.
Support.
Who made the motion?
Did you make the
Herb
motion?
did.
What?
Okay, I'll make the motion. That's fine. And then,
Okay, Blackstock?
yeah, that's fine. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? AT&T Metro extension. Right-of-way permit extension. This is a housekeeping thing, I believe.
I don't understand that, but I guess it's okay. But they just dumping it back on us is what it sounded like to me. And I suppose it's a good thing.
This is just an agreement to extend their right-of-way agreement for AT&T.
Oh, okay.
So authorization for me to sign it, evidently. Okay.
Pardon me?
I make a motion, we authorize the township supervisor to sign the AT&T Metro Act right-of-way permit extension.
Thank you, Mr. Knotts.
Support.
Mr. Ridgely, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. New business 3, water plant operator and operators, plural, requesting attendance to attend a 3-day conference as described in the attached. We know the routine on this one, you guys. They both are for $1,132.19. We encourage this. I make a motion we approve as presented.
Support.
Support by Ms. Babel.
We're gonna clip this out
We need a
of
roll call on that.
the
Yes, we do.
sewer water fund anyway, aren't we? I mean, sewer water authority budget? Wouldn't this be paid out of the sewer water authority budget anyway?
Well, that's up, I believe so. That would be the supervisor.
I'm just kinda wondering why it showed up here, because we usually do that.
Well, we have an agreement within our collective bargaining agreement that requires this,
Okay.
as far as our collective bargaining.
Okay, been moved and supported. Any other questions?
So we have 2 people going at 11:32:19?
Yeah, so it says here. Okay.
Roll call vote. Trustee Bebo? Yes. Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Knott?
Yes?
Trustee Ridgely?
Yes.
Treasurer Hart?
Yes.
Clerk Smith, yes. Supervisor Wester?
Yes. Okay, new business 4, budget amendments. Everybody get a chance to look at this? The explanations are given for just some adjustments of the funds. Resolution 8-2023 to amend the 2023 budget, quarter 2. Whereas East China Township budgeting and accounting practices stipulate quarterly budget amendments to reflect financial activities during the quarter and provide the basis for financial controls in future quarters. And whereas financial analysis of all fund accounts indicate a need to amend the budgets for General Fund, 2013A, 2013B, Capital Improvement Funds Fund, and Capital Projects Fund. Now therefore it be resolved that the East China Board of Trustees hereby approves budget amendments for third quarter of 22 as follows, and detailed in Exhibit A.
I would just read if the totals for each group.
Do I need to read all those?
The totals for each group, I would suggest that they just. read
General
it.
Fund, grant revenue, $51,350.
Down at the bottom there was the general fund total, then you have a bond fund and the capital projects and a.
Okay.
You have
Instead
revenue
of reading
fund,
each individual item.
Yes.
Not the after resurrection.
After you
Yes.
dig the hole, you gotta put the wires in, second
Yeah,
page.
right. Yeah, there's actually two items on here, I did not see that, thank you, Mr. Knotts. The second one is to obviously pull the wire and rewire everything. I make a motion to approve Hunter Electric proposal for $14.50. They've done work for us before, I'm real happy with this guy, he does good work, so. I make a motion to approve that, $14.50, Hunter Electric.
Support.
By Ms. Clerk, and we have questions on that? Clerk, please call the roll.
Roll call vote. Trustee Ridgely?
Yes.
Trustee Knott?
Yes.
Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Vabel? Yes. Treasurer Hart?
Yes.
Trustee Smith, yes. Supervisor Rusker?
Yes. Do business 7, request for sewer credit. Our DPW supervisor is saying to deny this. Not inspected by the staff, can't verify the leak location or where the water went, so.
You can't verify the location, man, because it just easily went down the sewer.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say that. I'll make a motion that we deny the request for credit as recommended by the DPW supervisor for address 4117 River Road.
Support.
okay, been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. New business 8, I've been asking and trying to find some people. I would like to, with your blessing, appoint Ron Miller as the new Park Commission member. Is that the right term? Park Commission trustee member, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Effective immediately, we'll get him brought up to speed, but he lives in the township, been in education for 40 years. He's retired now, has time, has an interest. He takes his grandkids down there all the time and talks about it, so I think it might make a good addition to the Parks Commission. I make a motion, we approve Mr. Ron Miller for the Parks Commission.
Support.
Support by Mr. Richley. Is there any other questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Announcements. I think the only one I had was, he came and spoke, so got some people complaining about restoration. They did get started out there, they're trying to get going on it, so. Be patient, please, people. They're working, the nursery company they got is a pretty good guy, so they're working towards it now.
What is going on with the paving? It's like they started it and didn't have enough, and now there's still like a little
Paving where,
lip where they went across, like, yeah.
they put a base coat in there for right now. They'll come back and
Okay.
top that once they're done with restoration, I think, so they
Okay.
don't make a mess of the top coat. They put the base in and then they
Okay.
kind of do the topsoil seeding,
It's
and
like
then
they
they
started
top that
and ran
last.
out or
That's generally what they do. Don't quote me, but I'm
It's
assuming that's what
rough
they're
getting in
doing.
and out of there, just
Yeah,
saying.
they did
Yeah,
the same thing
I-
at
Cars
Record
like-
Road. They usually do that and then they top it when they're all done,
Okay.
so they don't tear up the new,
Okay.
with their equipment on
They're
it.
all like,
Okay.
That's generally what they
go out of
do.
there.
All right. Just curious.
Anybody else have any comments? Mr. Richley? You're okay, you didn't use them up yet.
I'm gonna try to filibuster you guys now. I'm kidding, but so the joint meeting of the Park Commission and the Township Board is to be held on September 18th. It's gonna be prior to our board meeting, and the Park Commission.
Workshop?
Yeah,
Correct,
work
yeah,
session.
workshop, yeah.
Yes.
The Park Commission will have their regular meeting at 5:30 to 6:30. Then we'll have our workshop from 6:30 to 7:30. The main purpose and items of discussion, I mean, other people can add stuff too, but just communication moving forward between both boards basically is what I think we just gotta work on that. And then master plan survey is still on our website, and paper copies are available here, correct? For people, okay. And so I encourage everybody to participate and give their views. And I promised somebody I was gonna bring this up. They wanted to thank the board for, or I guess the road commission, I guess is the one that did it, but Bryson Lane was regraded. But they suggested next time they want gravel put down, because apparently it's better. I haven't been out there yet, but it was pretty bad. But I mean, it's apparently if it rains or something, it's gonna get just
Did
as
they
bad as
just
it
grade
was.
it? They didn't
Yeah,
even gravel?
That's what they said. I haven't been out there yet,
Yeah.
but,
We try to do it every other year.
Yeah.
We didn't put it in the budget for this year.
Is it more than every other year? Bryson Lane, you have, that's a dirt road. When
well,
it
like at the very
rains, it's-
beginning, at the very beginning, it was, I mean, my car was going, it was
Usually
pretty
when
bad.
they call, it's pretty bad.
Yeah,
So they're.
There's always that lag.
Always.
Then they call, we try to get them out there, and it takes the road commission a
It
week or
does.
two to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
out there, you
It
know.
does, but
They keep calling, and I try to explain, you know, we don't own the equipment.
it
We
needs
can
to
only,
happen.
yeah,
you know, but.
yeah.
And then the other bad part of that too is they don't own, or nor do we, any chloride equipment, so if it's
Right.
graded and then it's dry for a longer period of time, we get the calls on that too. There's
Yeah.
nothing we
About the
can do
dust,
about the
yeah.
chloride. We
Yeah.
don't have that
Yeah.
equipment available. They do that twice a year, and there's a company that they hired to do that, comes from out of the area.
Yeah.
Chlorides the roads. So we try to respond when we can,
Yeah,
but
right.
I'll discuss that with Mike at the road commission about maybe some gravel for,
Yeah.
before the fall.
Special assessment
All right.
district for a road?
That's all I got.
Okay.
That'll be next.
Well,
Yeah, I have something.
good.
Next meeting is Labor Day, Tuesday, is it pushed off to Tuesday?
believe
Yes,
so,
I
yeah.
believe so.
Okay, because I wouldn't even know that.
Yeah.
Second thing, I'd like to inform the board that the 5th of, Vern probably already knows, but on the 5th of August, we had a major breakdown at the water plant. Probably about the worst thing that could happen outside of somebody blowing a hole in the wall. The hard drive, it's a computer-controlled plant, the hard drive crashed. They could not get into any of the controls to control the plant. Travis Frett did a fantastic job, but they started at 5:30 in the morning on Sunday and found out what was wrong, got a contractor in here that found out what was wrong, found a replacement hard drive, had to program the hard drive, install it, and then get the plant running. In the meantime, by 6:30 that night, the plant was running back on automation. In the meantime, they didn't lose any water. All the plant staff was running each individual program logic controller for each around the plant, one for every tub in the plant. They were running them all manually by going to each one and continued to make water without missing a beat, no problems whatsoever. But I think that it was a fantastic work by the superintendent, Travis Frett,
did a really-
and his staff.
Yeah, they did a really good job.
So I
That
just wanted
IBM
to say-
Selectric hard drive that they found from 1980, I don't know where they found a used one.
I don't know what they do, but I'm gonna learn a whole lot more about that tomorrow
Yeah.
night. But I wanted to say something to the board to let them know that we had that problem and it was really taken care of by one of our outstanding
And on the same note,
employees.
they've been doing a really good job accommodating all the construction work and the pressure changes and valves and closing and opening and all that stuff. That's a lot of work at the plant to keep track of all that, and they're doing a really good job of that. And not to say, all the samples they gotta keep doing for water main testing for bacteria, they do a ton of them normally. This is just adds a tremendous
Yeah,
amount
you have to
more.
do it every time you break a line.
Yeah, so every time they're into the lines, they're doing it again. Thank you, Ralph. Anything else from anybody?
Nope.
If not,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
been moved. Is there support?
Support?
Support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.